Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. Hello. Welcome. It is a wonderful Tuesday. I'm so glad you're here. Catherine, Rebecca, Jocelyn, excellent to see you. I'm sitting here drinking water from my 2021 Full Bloom swag bag thing. It's one of my favorite water bottles because it has little indents for your fingers and what have you. Thought I'd share that. Hey there, Alice. Good to have you here. Jeanette, I'm glad you're in the house as well. And I'm glad all you are. I love seeing you greet each other as well. It's so nice. Isn't it nice to have a community that cares about each other? I think it's wonderful. Last night, for those of you who were there, we did a webinar. Of course, we did our Hot Melt Sprint webinar. That is beginning again on June 3rd. Boy, am I excited about this one. I don't know why, but this one has just really kind of grabbed me. I'm very excited about it. We had a really interesting discussion. If you haven't seen the webinar, go watch it. I mean, it'll take you probably 15 minutes, but the ensuing discussion afterwards with the commentary and all the things going on, wow, it was really good. We talked about some really intense things about if you want to become the next level then you're going to have to change some of your actions, and there were some really interesting things. And one of the things that I really put out there and hadn't talked about in a long time, hi Carol, by the way, is just this fact that if you are to be this next woman, if you are going to level up, then you're going to have to really consider all the things that you are about. Are you doing the things that are on that level? Because it's a matter of shifting our identity. It really is. And I think about that. I've thought about that long and hard about many different parts of my life. And I've thought about it's just really interesting to me how things kind of go full circle, isn't it? Hi, Sue. I'm glad you're here too. I haven't seen you in a while. Anyway, all of that to say, I hope you go back and watch the webinar, especially even if you've seen it a million times, go watch it, because the end part is a good, interesting discussion. And I think you should take a look at that. There might be an aha moment or two there for you. Just saying. Those of you who are in our book club, tonight's the last night. I cannot believe it. And what did you think of that book? Boing, right? With your eyeballs. Such a great book. You loved my poodle skirt. Catherine saw my poodle skirt. Oh, hi, Linda. So what is the poodle skirt, you ask? Well, there was a bunch of us that showed up with poodle skirts. We went to a fundraiser for The Haven. It's a place here in Brevard. I love the work that The Haven does. They help people to get back on their feet. They're very particular. They take applications, and this is for people who are interested, not in a handout, but in a hand up. And oh my goodness, what a terrific fundraiser. And they did it here where we live at Conisty. And one of the things that they did was it was come to the sock hop. And so, all of us here are like, woo, costumes, you betcha. So we all went on to Amazon, and it just so happened that they had them in a multitude of different colors. I chose pink. They were all satin. I chose pink with a black poodle on it. And, I put a belt on it and the shirt and everything. I did it exactly the way they had it on Amazon. Everybody did it slightly different. So adorable. Everybody should, Catherine, could you believe how everybody showed up like that? We all were like, oh my gosh, you too? The one thing that I had, the authenticity part, were the saddle shoes. I had saddle shoes, but the shoes, yes. My shoes were from 1975 to 1970. I bought them in 1975. They had leather shoelaces and everything. I was a what we called a song leader, and this is when we, the pom poms and the high kicks and all of that. That was my whole thing. We had yell leaders and song leaders. That's how it was back in my day, and we were a big squad, And my shoes were on point because they were authentic. They were, even though they were a red and white saddle shoe, because we were the red and white Whittier High School Cardinals. They still went with the outfit. And I thought, oh, but they're not pink. And I was like, come on, am I going to dye these? No, I'm not going to mess with these shoes. You did notice my shoes too. Rebecca noticed my shoes. Everybody knows my shoes. And the funny part is, if you look on the comments there on Facebook, there were a few people who say, I know those shoes because they either cheered with me or, they were in school with me at the same time. They recognize them. So yeah, I like to say I can still wear them. I can still wear my skirt, by the way. I just can't zip it up all the way. Remember when we had those itty bitty waists? Remember that? No longer. No longer. Anyway, thanks for that. Yeah, it was really fun. And, high ponytail, I do that all the time. No problem. We had a great time. Jackie, hi. It's good to see you. Even though you're driving, drive safe, by the way. So go to Saving Dinner Hub, /hub or /sprint webinar if you want to, and go see the webinar from last night. We had a really good discussion. I love discussions like that. I just do. Also, I want you to know that Sleep Ease is our supplement of the week. Watch your emails because it gives you a good explanation about all the ingredients that are in there and what it does. Because there's a lot of different things that we need to deal with when we're dealing with sleep. If you buy one, you're going to get one for free, by the way. Go to savingdinner.com /sleep. I want you to get this supplement and give it a try. I think it's wonderful. I also, just true confessions, I take 4. I don't take 2. I take 4. And it makes a big difference. Yeah, you're supposed to take 2 on this, but not me. I double down on this. So now's the time to get this. But what a good night's sleep you get. Everything in this has helps in one part of your sleep. It does. Sue noticed my shoes too. I know they're sitting there. They're upstairs and they're on a little cabinet that we have in our bedroom. And I said, I got to go put those away. And I said, well, maybe tomorrow. I was just looking at them and thinking, remembering, having all the memories that went with them. So yeah, all of that. Great quote of the week. What is Robin Sharma doing to me? Action delayed is greatness betrayed. Let that sink in. Action delayed is greatness betrayed. We are all called at this moment, at this time, on purpose and for purpose to be here. It's not an accident that you are here. So your greatness, and greatness isn't, being the next fill in the blank famous person. Greatness is showing up as your authentic self and fulfilling your mission that you've been given by God. That's what it is. And I will tell you something that each one of us needs to understand. There are seasons in our lives of how we show up and what we are to be about and what we are to do. It's not just one thing. There's several things. I mean, if you've experienced motherhood, there are times when, you are in the trenches big time, hands on, and then you're backing off a little bit and coaching on the sidelines, and then they're gone, If your identity is completely wrapped up in that, and you sit there, having these misty moments, thinking about the times when they were little and they needed you, you're going to miss out on your new calling, your new mission, your new purpose. And I'm saying this with all due respect and love, because I want each woman who's hearing this right now today to understand that this is the essence of a vibrant life, is listening, being aware of, and hearing that calling. Because every single one of us has the words called written across our foreheads, or you wouldn't be here. Just keep that tucked in the back of your mind, okay? You would not be here otherwise. What else do I have to tell you? Did I do all the things? Am I good? June 3rd is Sprint. Go watch the webinar. Go get your Hot Melt Sprint kit. And as a matter of fact, if you watch the webinar, you're going to get a screaming deal on that Hot Melt Sprint kit. You only get it from the webinar. What are you waiting for? Go get it. All right, today I'm, speaking of things that, things that matter, things that are important. One of the things that I have been really examining in my own life is this idea of just mere survival. And I think oftentimes that we pick up our identities as just being a survivor. I see people oftentimes where they will actually tattoo, some kind of survivor tattoo on them about surviving cancer, some disease or whatever. But the point is that we don't want to be identifying as a survivor. We want to identify as survived. And then we want to be moving to the next level, because that is what our true authenticity is all about. And, if we think and we dig deep to what is being authentic, it is being truly who you are. It's being true to not just your personalities, but your values, your beliefs, your inner knowing, your inner being is screaming out for that acceptance and for that appreciation and for that ability to be able to be that, just show up as that. And instead, what we end up doing is just going with survival, staying in survivor mode. And while survivor mode, I'm not going to put survivor mode down, because we have all been in this place of survivor mode, have we not? Survivor mode has served us. Survivor mode has taken us to the place of being able to have that behind us. And that's why I'm saying not survivor, survived. And now next is I think the answer. So that survivor stuff is all crafted, if you will, in our lives for trauma, difficult experiences, even learned behaviors that might not necessarily be serving us. All of that is what has come in and has been a part of our amygdala experience, right? As our amygdala tries to protect us from other things, because that's the whole idea of being a survivor, of having these survivorhood type of identification. It's meant to keep us safe, is the deal. But what it does is it has us walking on eggshells through our lives. What it does is it robs us of the authenticity of who we are. And I believe with all of my heart that who we are is who we need to show up as, because that is who God made. He didn't make you a survivor. He made you the woman that you are. And the fact that you survived something, kudos. A lot of that happened because of your determination, God's good grace, and the fact that you understood the mission, the assignment. Like, this is what I need to do. This is how I need to be about. And I need to be about this. You didn't just passively sit by and hope for the best. You went after it. So, survivor self is crucial for when the circumstances lead us into that. And we're talking crisis, folks. We're not talking, everyday life. But it also will hinder us from living authentically. How come I can't say that? And experience true fulfillment. So we got to look and understand a little bit about the survivorship self, because that is a persona in and of itself. Hi, Ann. Good to have you here. Linda survived 3 bouts of cancer. Yeah, you're a thriver, all right. Good for you. Good for you. All right. So, this is the thing that I want you to understand too. And this is the thing that stood out to me when we're talking about this whole survivorship stuff, all this stuff, that it often is a defense mechanism, right? It's a defense mechanism. It takes certain forms so that we can protect ourselves. That's it. And that's what our amygdalas are oftentimes doing when our amygdalas don't want to take a risk. You know, that part of your brain that just puts on the brakes and won't let you do anything, right? Your amygdala is telling you that everything is risky and dangerous and fearful. And yet, what we really need to do is grab ourselves by the bootstraps and say, hold on a minute, who's in charge here? I am. I am. And so, my survivor self, while she was there when I needed her for that thing, for that crisis, now it's time for me to live in my authenticity because that's the part of you that God blesses, that God has given you so that you can live this life on purpose and for purpose. You have a mission to complete. Amen. So here's some common forms that being in your survivor self takes. Pinkies up if you hear one, if you hear all, I mean, what if you hear it, give me a pinkies up in the comments. Okay, you ready? Number one, the people pleaser. Anyone? There's mine. My pinky is going up. Okay, there's potential. My pinky is going up. And why is that? Because this is the aspect, there it is, here it comes. You know what this is? This is us trying to seek validation and approval from others. It is the big, massive stage of life where we go out there seeking approval, seeking validation, fearful of rejection and abandonment. From whom, by the way? From whom? Them. Who is them? What we do then is we sacrifice our personal needs and desires. We don't, do you hear me on this? All at the expense of keeping other people who are not invested in our lives, who don't give a damn. All of us do this. This is part of that survivorship stuff. We do this. And when we are seeking the validation and approval from others, we are not looking for the validation and approval from ourselves. Do you hear me on this one? That's pretty scary. But there's more. I've only just gotten partway through. Hey, Lynn, there's more. There's also the perfectionist. Oh, heck yeah, we can all raise our hands to that one. Give me a pinkies up if you've ever thought of yourself as a perfectionist. You know what this is? This is trying to control the outcome of everything, and including things that are completely out of your control. What is this about this? We want to avoid failure, except that the failure is in not understanding that we can't control everything. We are never going to see perfection this side of glory, ever. What does this do? It creates chronic stress, it creates burnout, and it's this relentless pursuit of unattainable standards crushes your soul. The frustration is just ridiculous. And what does it do? It puts these expectations on people that they don't have any idea, right? And you're looking at them, and God help you if you raised your kids like this, and it frustrates the endless daylights out of your kids. I did that. I had to go back and apologize my brains out. But this is a controlling mechanism is what this is. Because we are so out of control, we think that if we can control what's around us and make it just so, then we can get things done. But what does it lead to? Burnout, chronic stress, not ever starting anything, because if you can't do it right, don't do it at all. It's part of the equation. It's part of being a survivor, by the way. It is. How about the avoider? Okay, this will get under your skin. We want to avoid confrontation. Maybe anyone? Pinkies up on this one? How about that? Difficult emotions, challenging situations. And guess what happens? the opportunities that may have come your way will be missed because you're too busy procrastinating, pushing away, and avoiding what it is that needs to either get done, be spoken about. What does that do to you? What do you think that does inside of you? When we are dealing with that, we are not dealing with our authentic self. We're dealing with this tiny, scared little teeny weeny person. And you are much bigger than that. Part of my affirmations that I'm starting to write out every morning is I am powerful, I am fearless, and I am unstoppable. Because those things, even though I know that I have fears, even though I know I get stopped, even though I know I have weak moments, I want to reinforce inside of me the power that is mine, given to me by God Himself, the unstoppability that is mine with my determination, given to me by God Himself. And same thing with the fear. I can hand that fear over to God at any time and say, you know what, this is kind of freaking me out a little bit. I have conversations like that with God because I'm not going to get, I'm not going to get all religious on it. I'm going to get into a conversation about it. I believe God wants that kind of an intimate relationship with me. And this, I know that He hears when I call like that. He hears because this is the trueness of who I am. This is my authentic self calling out to Him. I don't want to be a people pleaser, God. I don't want to be a perfectionist or an avoider. I want to land firmly on my 2 feet, authentically yours and authentically mine, so that I can live my purpose, so I can live this mission that you've given me, so I can become the vibrant woman that you've called me to be. Living vibrantly, living a life that is fulfilled, happy, full of gratitude, appreciation, and all the rest of it. But there's one more, y'all. I swear there's always one more. How about the overachiever? Anyone? Overachiever. This means that you are equating any of your accomplishments with your self-worth. Do you hear me on this? If you don't do anything, you're not worth anything, is how you look at it. You're constantly striving for more to prove your value. I do this. And you know what that does? It neglects your personal well-being for the cost of what? Of what? It also can cause a fracture in relationships. Because again, this also spills into the other stuff and puts unrealistic expectations on others as well, with the perfectionism and all the rest of it. You see how it's not just one, it's all, isn't it? Anyone? Me, for sure. But we can dismantle the survivor self, because this living like this, that's no picnic. That's walking on eggshells in your own life. That is not knowing the right way to turn. That's being frozen in fear. Frozen in fear. So let's talk about, how do we dismantle this? Well, first we have to recognize this stuff, right? We have to recognize it. We need to uncover the patterns. When does this come? When does the people pleaser show up in your life, right? Is it when there's a bunch of people there you just you feel like you have this need to do, X, Y, and Z with? I don't know. But we have to look at this. And the first thing that we have to look at is, of course, this self-awareness, because when we can reflect on our behaviors and identify what they are, especially if we're going back to those 4 that I just mentioned, we can see that this is not aligning with authenticity. It's aligning with survivorship, is what it's aligning with. And journaling, how many times am I going to talk about journaling? One of the cheapest, easiest ways to do your own therapy. You'll dump that stuff out and you'll see the patterns. That's why this is so important. But self-awareness, and you've noticed this, right? When we're having these talks on Tuesdays, you'll notice a lot of times, what is the first thing that we talk about? Self-awareness. We have to, because self-awareness is the first, part of flipping the switch and turning on the light, right? We still have to do some other things like accept who we are and accept this part of our survivorship. It doesn't mean that we push it away and say whatever. We need to accept that these behaviors served their purpose at the time. but it's safe to leave them behind and to go on to a new up-leveled version of ourselves. Remember what I said earlier in the program when we were talking? That in order to get to that next level, you need to become the person of that next level. That's what this is, too. And that next level of living your life in your most vibrant way is to recognize that this survivor stuff needs to be dismantled so that you can put in the stuff that makes sense, the authenticity that is yours. Okay? And I just want to add one more thing about this whole idea of acceptance, because I think acceptance is super important for this. There should be no shame or judgment in there. Not at all. There should be no shame or judgment. You can acknowledge what their role was at the time without shaming yourself and judging yourself and saying that was bad, I shouldn't have done that, blah, blah, blah. The fact that you're seeing it for what it is right now is a huge victory. And that's a win in my book. The third thing is mindfulness. That is a regular practice, by the way. You'll see that. Practice mindfulness. Why? To stay aware and present with what's going on around you. And you will see when the survivor self wants to step in and take over. You can feel it in your soul. You can feel the stirring, like, it's a little uncomfortable here. And then here comes the survivor, here comes Survivor Sheila. I'm going to take over now. Everybody get back. Don't allow it to happen. Because when you have that awareness and when you are mindful like that, you're not going to let her do this necessarily. You're not going to let her take over and do all that stuff. You'll recognize the people pleasing way before it even starts it. You'll recognize this is what you want to do, and you'll say, hold on a minute. The authentic you won't let you do that anymore. And you'll just go ahead and put up a boundary or whatever it is that you need to do. We're going to talk about that. The other thing is, and this is important too, is you might need a therapist. So what? Can I tell you how many years of therapy I've been through? Therapy is a good thing because sometimes we don't see our stuff. And if you have trouble seeing your stuff, go find somebody who can help you. They can help you work through the past traumas. They can help you work through an old crisis so that you can say it was behind me. There's a lot of help out there. BetterHelp.com is one of the ones that I know of that I know people who've gotten great information, great help there. Do what you need to do. But if we are going to embrace authentic living and being our authentic selves, what do we need to do? Well, we need to align with what our true values are. Period. Full stop. What is your true value? What are your true beliefs? What are your desires in this life? Not wrong to have them, by the way. It's a good thing. If you can embrace your vulnerability of thinking, oh, this is tough, this is hard, that means people are going to see me for X, Y, and Z. That's your true self, That is your true self. And guess what? You can find joy in that, even in that discovery, even in that unknowing. You can find joy in that because it's telling you you're letting go of the survivor stuff. You're letting go of a lower level, a lower vibe way of living your life. So authenticity like this can lead you into a fulfilling life and up-leveled life. So what are we talking about here? We're talking number one about genuine connections. So when you're authentic, you attract other authentic people who are going to resonate with your true self. You find your true friends. You find your tribe. You find your people at long last. And you don't have to pretend anymore. You just love, and you love them and they love you right back. And what does that do? It leads you to meaningful, deeper relationships. You were all talking about my poodle skirts and everything. Those women that I hang out with? These women, I'm close friends, especially one or two of them are really close friends. And these friendships have been developed in a period of a year, 2 years. Like really true, deep relation. If I know a couple of them, I wouldn't hesitate to call. We might as well have been friends for 40 years. That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. But I am authentically myself there. I don't have to pretend to be anybody that I'm not. I'm just showing up as I am, warts and all. So The other thing is that living authentically is going to give you inner peace because it reduces the inner conflict of you going, should I do this or should I do that? Am I enough or am I not? Is this going to help me? Is this not going to help me? And, you know, the beauty from all of this inner peace stuff is that there comes this time where all of a sudden you've accepted yourself for all your warts and allness and glory. Because there's a mixture there, isn't it? There's a mixture. There's this most incredible, beautiful soul there, but she has flaws and warts, and she's deeply flawed because she's a human being. And that's self-acceptance right there. If you can see the clear picture, it's just pure love. And then purpose and passion, because, you know, how do you pursue your passion? How do you pursue your purpose if you're not doing it authentically? How do you do that? You can't do it in people-pleasing mode. You can't do it if you are a perfectionist because you'll never get it started, right? You can't do any of it. To get to this place of purpose and passion, you must live authentically. So here's a couple. I'm going to give you some really good examples of rising to authenticity. Number one is that you got to start setting some boundaries. Am I right? Especially you people pleasers. Hello, people pleasers. And, you know, authentic people set very clear boundaries. And they don't waver. And they don't explain themselves. Have you noticed that? They don't explain themselves. They say no to things that drain them and yes to opportunities that align with their values. That align. I am the president of our pickleball club. That aligns with my values in a big way. I feel like I'm a good leader. I feel like I have the understanding of how to deal with a lot of people. And I also love the game, love the sport, and I love the membership and the people that are there. It's a good match. It's an authentic matchup. And that's what we're looking for. So that boundary of when I got asked to do that, I said yes. It fit. But if somebody had asked me to do that for golf, I would have said, I don't think so. Doesn't fit. We need to be looking at that when we say yes to things because it needs to line up. Number two is pursuing your passions. You know, I'm going to say this. If you are choosing a hobby and and you think, you know, I might be able to sell this, or this might be able to be a career or whatever. And somebody's saying, you'll never make money out of that. You just will, whatever. Stop listening and listen to me for a minute. You don't need to make a 6-figure career out of something that lights you up. You don't. You have the ability to align with your own values and not those of others. So those who come into your life and say these things, you can say, well, thanks so much for your opinion that I didn't ask for. However, I am pursuing my passion and my purpose, and this is what it is. Bye. You know, we have to put those boundaries up. We also need to embrace vulnerability because if we don't have the ability to share our true feelings with those who are closest to us, even when it's uncomfortable, then we're not fostering a true relationship. And the thing is with true relationships, they're based on authenticity, not just a bunch of sleight of hand, smoke and mirrors, and so all of that. It has to be a genuine connection based on the fact that you're both interested in personal growth and you're willing to be there for each other and to be vulnerable. Not everybody gets to see that from you, by the way. You need to be selective, but your authentic self will know who to select, by the way. You also, number 4, need to prioritize self-care. When you tell yourself that you count and you put yourself in that Epsom bath, and Tanya, I don't know if you're still here, but if you put yourself to bed, not on the recliner, you put yourself to bed, that is a form of self-care. That is saying to yourself that you matter and you're willing to do something that's maybe not as easy as doing something else, and that you're going to take care of yourself. You're sprinting for those 7 days. You're doing things that say, I care about you. You're going to go get your mani-pedi, right? This is an act of care. It's an act of love. It shows self-respect. It shows authenticity of who you are. So I want you to just right now, quickly, imagine a woman who's always sought approval by overworking, overdoing, looking for perfection, and never saying no. Think about her. And when we recognize this as her survivor self in action, and she begins to act with respect to herself by setting boundaries, prioritizing activities that bring her joy. Maybe she's plays pickleball or hikes or paints or whatever it is that she does. She starts to do these activities that bring her joy. You will see her shift in her energy massively. She will, instead of being frustrated and pushed down, she will start to fully bloom. The fragrance will be intoxicating. She'll feel more connected and alive, and the quality of her life will shift. The quality of her relationships will shift. She's out of survival and into living her true and authentic self. Now, I'm going to say this is not an overnight thing. The requirement is courage and patience and self-compassion. But I've got news for you. Patience, courage, and self-compassion are not just these attributes that some people have. They are skills. They can be developed. Courage doesn't just automatically show up. It is a decision that you make. And same with patience, and same with self-compassion. And little by little, you inch along and you get to this place of actually enjoying who you are because you've given yourself this much grace. Think about the grace that God has given us every single solitary day of our lives. So much so, how much he loves us, so much so that he knows the number of hairs on your head. And as one comes out, he knows the number of it. That's 395 that fell out of her head today. That kind of love comes from God himself. And all he's asking us to do is to levy a little bit of that compassion and love and grace and care on ourselves so that we can show up authentically, truly, and live our lives in such a way that it is on purpose, for purpose, fully bloomed and vibrant. Because how else are we going to perform and live our missions fully? All right. That's all I have for you today. I think that's enough. There's a lot. Wasn't that heavy? It's kind of heavy. But you know what? I needed to hear this. So here it is. So thank you, those of you who hung in there and stayed there with me to the end. If there's anything ever that you need from me, always send your emails into support@savingdinner.com. I'm here for you in any way that you need. Don't forget about the announcements. You can find them at savingdinner.com/announcements. Get your BOGO, your Sleepies, buy one, get one, and get your quote of the day, all the other things. And I will see you next week. Peace be with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.